Well, good. Well, I turned the lights on so I could see you all. You look much nicer with the lights on. It's kind of when I turn the lights off. And we're going to do that because we want to be able to video this. I'll tell you a little bit about my background and then some of the current projects that I'm working on. Then we'll go into this. Unfortunately, Sandra Williams can't be with us today. She's our Associate Director of Employer Development and Campus Planning. And she is actually back at the office helping out with some stuff. So I apologize for that because I thought it'd be cool to have her perspective. We have very different backgrounds. But currently my role is Director of Career Services at San Diego State. I've been in that role for 7 years. And in terms of career-related things, I'm a past president 2 years ago of a group called MPACE, the Mountain Pacific Association of Colleges and Employers. I am a regular book reviewer for NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. I've been on their diversity and inclusion, and also I'm a certified Career Center reviewer, I think is what I call it, for NACE as well. So I get to go and look at other career centers and tell them what they're doing well and what they might not be doing so well. And then currently, what I'm doing on campus is we have a new president, I'm sure you know, Dr. Hirschman, and he's formed a strategic planning emphasis, and there are 5 parts to that. And I'm on 2 teams. One of the teams is called Campus Climate. And what we do is we had our first open forum. We're looking at 2 questions. What can the university do to improve morale despite the budget setbacks? So you can imagine that's going to generate a lot of interesting conversation. And the second is how can we become better neighbors to our immediate community? So we had our first open session on that. And then the next one that I belong to is I'm the Student Affairs Representative on the Community Engagement Committee. That's one of the 5 areas. And that one we haven't met yet. We meet next week, so I'll be able to say a little bit more about that once I've actually had a committee meeting. Hi there. Hi. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to just introduce yourself.
Sure, that's
okay.
Awesome.
I love that attitude. You're just your name, your year in the program, and where you think you might be taking your career.
My name is Deonta Bell. I am a 2nd year in the program. And in terms of my career, like short-term, long-term?
You can just go short-term.
I am interested in multicultural and cross-cultural diversity. Mm-hmm. So maybe a cross-cultural center or something to that effect. But I'm interested in getting my PhD. Good. So I'm going to work on that first.
Wow, that's great. In what area are you going to get your PhD?
I'm thinking about sociology of education.
Excellent. Very good. Thanks. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. So let me tell you a little bit about career services at San Diego State, because I know that you might have come from a different university. We're the Central Career Center for the entire university, so we work with a lot of different areas. And we have myself as the director, and then we have an associate director who oversees the career counselors, and I think there are 6 career counselors. And then we have an associate director. This is a position I just created, so I'm really thrilled. This person oversees employer development and campus planning. And I believe as a career center, you can't do your job well if you're not doing outreach. And I'm thrilled to have this new person working with us. We also have something that you won't see probably at any other career center, unless somebody's done it in the last year. But 3 years ago, I created a position called STEM Employment Analyst. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And the reason why I created that was twofold. One is a lot of students perceive career centers as being there just for colleges and business, and we're not. We're there for everybody. But there was so much going on in terms of San Diego and biotech and healthcare that I thought we should have somebody to be our person to represent us and to work with the 2 colleges, specifically College of Sciences and College of Engineering. And what our emphasis is in STEM is to keep underrepresented students and women connected to science, technology, and engineering and math. So that's what we have been doing with our programs, and I'm thrilled because it's really, we've done some of the most innovative work that I've seen anywhere. We've been approached by several other career centers throughout the U.S. to tell us about our programs. The last one that we met with was University of Arizona this summer. And so some pretty cool things happening in our center. I hope you get a chance to come on over and say hi and meet with some of our career counselors. So I'm going to turn the lights off. Now we can all go to sleep. And I'm going to talk to you about resumes, but talk to you about it in a broad context, because that's the way that I look at it. And I'm just going to frame it with job search basics and put it in here. But I think that this is the most important piece. I talked to several of your predecessors on a regular basis who are doing job search. I managed to somehow or other every year connect with a couple of people who are going through this program. And a lot of them are applying for jobs, and they'll call me and they'll say, hey James, I'm applying for this job. Can I send you my resume? And can you take a look at it and let me know what you think? And one of the things that I often find myself doing when I get their stuff is I go to here first, so I can understand this better. And then we'll talk a little bit about these things. And hopefully we'll have an engaging hour together, and that won't keep you for too long and won't get boring and all that stuff. And if you have any questions while I'm going through, feel free to interrupt me. Just so you know, my PhD is in communication, and I didn't ever expect that I would be a career center director. But at some point I can tell that story about how I got into this career, this field. So I wanted to say that the most important thing that I ask people with regard, I just realized I'm standing in the way of this camera. The most important question I ask, I'm trying not to be blinded and I'm trying to respect this, is, you know, when you're thinking about putting together a resume or getting ready for the job search or getting ready for an interview, is, you know, what defines you as a professional? And let's just try this for a quick second. If you have a piece of paper nearby, if you had to think of the top 3 to 5 strengths or qualities that define you, and I'm not talking about strengths finding now, I'm just talking about off the top of your head, could you just go ahead and write those down on the paper right now? Or on your iPad, those of you who are really high-tech. Good. If you don't mind sharing, could I hear a couple or a few of the strengths that people put down? Anybody want to tell me 1 or 2 that they put down? Yeah.
I put down positivity and developer. Developer is a strengths cluster.
It is, and I think positivity is too, right?
Yes,
yeah.
but that one can also just mean positivity.
Positivity and developer. Okay. Anybody else in terms of strengths that you find yourself putting down?
Responsible and multitasker.
Responsible and multitasker. Good. Anybody else? Yeah.
I put enthusiastic and a great communicator.
Enthusiastic and a great communicator. And
I put strategic and organized.
strategic and organized. Good. Okay, so I wanted you to see that there is a method to my madness in terms of how I put this together. Your strengths typically get discussed in a number or presented in a number of different ways. And the first way that they tend to get discussed is in terms of a skill set. We've had a couple of job openings, which has been really fortunate. And when I work with HR, they always want you to, in your job description, when you put the skills that you want, you know, your KSAs, your knowledge, skills, and abilities. So when you think about those strengths, like if you talk to me about responsible, I need you to unpack that a little bit more in terms of what skills do you use that allow you to demonstrate that you are responsible. Like, are you organized, right? Do you do research, follow through, those sorts of things. So that the strengths, come out to play here, and then you demonstrate it further in terms of your professional experience. You know, can I use you as an example?
Sure.
So Kaylin and I are working on a project right now in my office, and it requires her to go out and interview faculty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, using an interview guide.
Mm-hmm.
So she could talk a little bit about, if she had communication here, about the fact that she's had to conduct interviews using a formal guide and report back to the director. So the professional experience is a great way to start to make people see this. And you'll notice that when we did our intros, a lot of you talked about your internships. So I'd start to think about how do your strengths get expressed in those internships or those experiences that you have. For a hiring manager such as myself, what I do when I look at a resume